Hello and welcome back. I'm Katie Carwan, and this is my weekly Lunch and Unlearn session on the topic of unlearning bad workshop tactics. And the topic today is unlearning bad workshop dynamics. I'll just get to the details here in a second, and I'll show you my presentation more in detail. So over this 15 minutes, I will give you some examples of what can happen during a workshop that might not lead to a good climate or to a high energy environment. Maybe the energy is too low, or maybe the energy is totally wrong. And how can you address that during the workshop and avoid it being derailed? That is the key challenge when that happens. Let us have a look here on the setting for this. I'm choosing to focus on unlearning because I strongly believe that it's really important that all of us are consistent and conscious in selecting what we need to unlearn in order to stay in demand as professionals, as leaders. And this will just increase over time the necessity to make sure that we unlearn habits and skills that do not serve us anymore. And this series is aiming at addressing some of these topics, focusing on workshops in particular. When it comes to unlearning about workshops, it's sometimes easy for me to categorize the topic into either preparations or execution or the follow up of a workshop. And sometimes it goes across all of these three things. But today, the main thing has to do with the actual execution of a workshop. And what I mean by that? Well, starting off in topics of unlearning, you need to understand what it is that you want to change. So you need some facts, you need some insights, and make a decision. I really want to go ahead and uh, correct this and change it and maybe eliminate it fully. When you do that, you also need to come up with a change perspective. You need to make a decision to yourself. What is it that I would like to do more of instead? What would be the preferred to be situation in my future self in terms of how I behave and how I run certain tasks or which skills and capabilities I demonstrate? And when you have done so, of course, it's all about practicing, right? So, in order to change a behavior, you need to practice over time. Some people say 21 days, some people say 90 days, some people say a long time. And the key thing here is that you are stringent and that you are back on the horse again if you fall off, because it takes time to settle and to anchor a new behavior, which is what this is all about. If we don't go ahead and are more consistent and stringent about this, we will probably default and gravitate back to the things we used to do, which is not maybe serving us anymore at all. I want to give you some examples today about three typical areas, or not areas, maybe scenarios where participants in workshops can cause challenges to the facilitator and to the other participants. And I'm sure you will recognize some of these situations. So I've listed them here, so we will have some insights into how to handle participants who are easily distracted and how to handle those who are not listening or not engaging, and also how to handle people participating if they are objecting more directly or even troublesome. And I'm going to get back to this topic from a facilitation perspective in another episode of this series. But today, I just want to give you some insights to how you can apply certain strategies when either or several of these occur during a workshop. When it comes to participants who are easily distracted, that's when you think, but how come? We set the ground rules in the beginning of the workshop. We agreed to this. And still they are distracted. They're doing things that we agreed they shouldn't do. This happens all the time. And what I used to do is to make sure that not only setting the ground rules in the beginning, but also asking people, the participants, did we miss anything here? Is there something that you would like to add to this list? Buying into more that they are committed to the set of rules. And despite that, this might occur, right? So they will be distracted by maybe a phone call or maybe mail or maybe a discussion in the room or outside of the room. So what you need to do, especially if you are the facilitator and you are maybe unfamiliar to the participants from the beginning, you need to establish eye contact and you need to actually move physically towards them and kind of use your voice and your body language to really impose your presence in a good way. So this means that you can use your nonverbal communication to set the scene and to remind them in a gentle way about the rules and that you are the owner of the room. And what you could do is, of course, to increase the voice level. You can change your pace of how you talk. You can also move physically around in the room and present certain things or explain certain activities and exercises in the workshop from different angles of the room physically, making sure that they are not defaulting into some kind of passivity throughout the session, but they are always, I would say, on alert, and that they are paying attention to that you vary and that you include them also physically into the meeting. This might be a bit trickier when people are joining virtual workshops, but you can still make them pay attention and you can still have them agree to the rules, and you can also check in with them to see that they are alert, and you can do certain icebreakers and you can have certain exercises to exemplify that they can expect the unexpected from you. Then they will pay much more attention, they will be more alert, and you might keep the distractions at a minimum level. When it comes to participants not listening or not engaging, if you feel that some of them or all of them, worst case, are low in energy, it's really important to do a number of things in terms of being really alert on how you use your voice. It's about maybe making a pause. Any teacher will tell you the effect of actually pausing for 4 seconds before they move on. And this can be done in any kind of context. People will calm down and they will direct their attention towards you if you don't overuse it. So make sure that you use the pauses and then resume, and you also use the strength of your voice and vary the voice and the pace in how you are communicating with them. Maybe you should also prepare some icebreakers to see if, okay, so if the energy in the room goes down, or if there are some participants who are not very engaged, you can use some icebreakers to open up and to make sure that they are have to engage in some way. And the earlier you do this in the workshop, the better, because then they are more open to the whole exercise as such. If you feel that, despite the fact that you are pointing to the rules and you are offering some icebreakers and some variation to your group of people, if they still don't pay attention, maybe you need to involve them directly and address Mr. So and so or Mrs. So and so in order to have their attention totally and call them out somehow in the room and make sure that they understand that that can be expected from you. You expect them to be engaged as long as they are in the room. So that's some of the techniques you can use in order to make sure that you are lowering the risk of having several of your participants not listening or engaging in your workshop. What happens then in example number 3 here? If you have somebody really objecting to the way the workshop is going or how you facilitate or causes some trouble even, what do you do then? Well, one example is, of course, that people repeatedly look at their cell phone, they take calls or they chat in the background. And if that is getting disturbant, if it's affecting the whole the whole room and it's repeated, you need to address it. And in that case, you need to involve them with direct questions. You need to make sure you can move physically, you can involve them with questions, you can demand that they are pointing their attention towards the goal of the day as long as they are in the room. And if they're still not adhering to the rules or adapting to the agreed set of rules, you can call them out in a slightly more confrontational way as well. So, first of all, what I typically do when that happens, then I take them aside and I talk to them aside and I say, "So listen, I see this and this, and I can see the effects on other people, or I can see the consequences of this and this. Could you please do this or do that?" And let them have a fair chance of actually addressing it on a one-to-one basis. And if that shouldn't resolve it, this hasn't happened yet to me, but if it shouldn't cause a solution to the problem, you probably need to kick them out of the room. You need to make sure that you still own and control the room, because that's what they signed up for. That's what you're there to do. You're there to solve a problem. You're there to come up with some results. And you need to address the climate overall and make sure that as many as possible have a great experience and feel that this day invested is worthwhile in money and in time. So those were some of the things you can do if you face objecting or troublesome participants in a workshop. So I hope that was useful to you. And in a later episode, I will get back with some examples and I will share some more facilitation skills that are not so much to do with the energy, but has to do with actually creating that great workshop experience. That's for a different episode. I will leave you with a challenge as always. And if you look back, whenever you're preparing a workshop, there might be some situation that you fear will come up again. So in this case, which workshop situation do you fear the most and why? And which strategies can you apply to handle this well next time? Maybe some of the things that I just mentioned could be helpful. Talk to other people who are experienced in running workshops, and you can prepare yourself mentally and have some kind of a buffet of different strategies that you can pick from, because something will always happen, and you can't plan for everything, but you can prepare yourself and be mentally prepared to handle that. So I wish you the best of luck with that. And the next episode will focus on more in depth on the facilitation part of the workshop. How can you make sure that from start to end, it becomes a great experience? What do you do as a facilitator in order to add to the creativity, add to the courage, add to the structure, add to the progress being made throughout the process? That's something we will deep dive into next week. And as always, I would love to remind you about my extra recording in terms of asking yourself the right questions, the key questions that anybody should ask themselves before a workshop. That is beyond, I would say, a lot of quick checklists. It's more about sharing examples, sharing great insights, and allowing yourself some time to reflect so you are well prepared mentally. And you will find that it's only 20 minutes long. You will find it via the bit.ly/workshop hacks link as shown here. So I hope you will be back next week, and let me know if you have any comments or questions. I would love to listen in. I have one comment here coming through that I would like to show and address. So Lowell here says, "Thanks for hosting this session. I like that you mentioned the importance of keeping in control of the room, even if it means kicking people out of the room." Yes. And to be honest, Lowell, I haven't come to that. It doesn't come to that for me yet. And I hope it will never come to that, but it might be necessary. And as a facilitator, you need to be clear in your demand of the room. And this is something that is the ultimate, I would say, action to take. But again, yes, you're very right. Keeping in control of the room is a lot about making sure that people feel safe, but that you anchor the rules, but you control the room. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And I have another one as well from that I can share here. Madalena says, "Thank you very much. I once kicked out a person of the room for bad behavior when I was a guest speaker, not knowing he was the CEO." Wow, that's kind of that takes some boldness to do that, and I think maybe with some time apart, you can laugh about that as well, but it might be necessary because one or two people can actually ruin a full day unless you demand control and unless you get that anchored from the beginning. So great points, great examples. Really appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to leave you for now and wish you the best of luck with your workshops. Hope to see you again soon on workshop topics or other things. Take care. Happy workshopping. Bye.